Okay, so I wanted to give you a little more useful demonstration of tabbing that you could keep with you in your hearts. And what I've done is I've set up a table of contents. We're also going to do a recipe. I've got the text here. And first of all, we're going to sort of do an easier one, setting up the table of contents. So I've already done a little bit of formatting to it. You'll see I placed it on the page. There's a little less space on the inside towards the gutter than there is on the outside. I've set up the title of it, the table of contents, a little larger. So that is 30-point type, and this is 11-point type on 16-point leading. And if I zoom in here, you can see that everything right now is separated by spaces. And what I really want to do to show you the tabbing is put tabs in here. But the problem is I don't have any tabs, so I would have to go in and enter these tabs individually right now. Well, I don't have much time, so I know you don't either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a tab in here, and then I'm going to copy it. So Command C, and I'm going to go into find and replace, or find and change it's called. So I'm going to hit Command F, and if I were to find it in here, it would be under editing. Yes, there it is there. So Command F brings up find and change, and it's quite a powerful tool for us. So what I want to do is I want to find a space. So I'm going to type in the space, and I want to change it to, and I've copied that tab, and this is what the tab looks like. It's sort of a circumflex T. You can also go in and find the tab out in this little @ symbol here, so extra characters, okay? And instead, usually what happens is it's set up to find it in the document or in the story. I don't want it to go and find these spaces up here. I just want it to run until the end of the story. So I'm going to put to the end of the story. And I'm going to click here, find next, and you'll see that it skips down and finds the next space. And I'm just going to hit change all. And what it should do is change everything in the text. And I'm going to click done. And if I zoom out, you'll see that it's gone through and replaced all those spaces with tabs, which is really helpful for us. Okay, I'm going to zoom out here, and I'm going to bring up my tab bar. So Command Shift T, and I'm just going to dump a tab in here where I think it will be appropriate. And I've forgotten to select everything here, so I'm going to highlight that. And because I already have the tab here, I can just click on it already, and it will magically bring things over. Oh, you'll see also I have some extra things in here that I'm going to have to fix. So I've obviously not set it up properly. Whoops. So side dishes. And, oh, I see, rice salads are the thing. So it's replaced that space, okay, which becomes a little bit of problematic, but not too bad to fix. There we go. So we're ready to go. And I've gone in and I've put a tab here at the 20 pica 6-point mark, okay. And if I look at it, if I turn my invisibles off with Command Option I, we can see how everything's lined up. So we have this lined up along this side and this lined up along this side, all flush left. Okay. Well, that's looking a little sparse. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this highlighted. So I'm going to highlight all my text, and you'll see that my tab indicator is already highlighted. If it weren't, I could just go in and re-highlight it. And what I'm going to do is put a leader in. And the leader actually, I think we showed it in class, it will sort of fill in that space. And if we go in and just put a period in there and enter, what happens is, if I click off this, it fills in that space with a period. Now, I find usually for me that if there's a period with no space around it, it looks really heavy on the page, okay? So it's starting to take away from the rest of the text. So if I zoom out and I highlight it again, and I highlight the tab indicator, and I put a space after the leader, what I'm going to do is, if I hit enter and click off it, you'll see that it's halved the amount of periods after it. So it makes it a little easier to read. The other thing you'll notice is that because I've put the space after, it's sort of put it right up against the number here. So again, I'm going to go in and highlight it and highlight the tab. And I'm going to highlight it now and put space, period, enter, and see what that looks like, if that makes a change to the way it looks. And again, if we zoom in, you'll see that the period isn't bumping right up against the number here. So again, you have to go in and sort of massage your text a little bit and make sure it looks the way we want to, okay? We can also go in and put in things other than periods, okay? And I think during class I put in a /, which was, a little obstreperous there. Maybe we could use an underscore that would sort of lead us across. If we hit enter, you can see that the underscore now fills in that space. So that's not, it's not great, but it's not bad. Okay. Now the other thing that I can do is, let's say I want this to look a little different. Right now it's sort of looking like a big rectangle-y block of text. Let's say I want it to look a little jaggedy. I want it to be ragged on this side and yet have the numbers lined up. So what I can do is I'm just going to highlight the first few of them here so we can have it as a comparison. Actually, I'm going to go in first and take out the underscore here. Okay. And so I've just deleted that when I've highlighted the tab and there's no leader anymore. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to highlight, I'm going to go in and put a tab in front of some of the first words here. So let's do, a fair few of them so I get an idea of what it's going to look like en masse. And I'm going to highlight these. And I'm going to add another tab in here. If I pull this tab bar down and sort of roughly line it up, you'll see that when I put the first tab in, it's lining up to this 20p6. So if I want it to line up in a different spot, I can add a tab in that will separate that and make it the first tab. So you'll see that there's less space in here. If I zoom down and click off it, it's looking quite good. I like that. So I'm going to go in and highlight all of this and make this first tab function. So I'm going to click on it. You'll see it's sort of grayed out. And then I'm going to go in and add the tabs at the beginning of all these other recipe types here. Okay, so you'll see it's looking a little better, and what this does is it makes sure that the leader isn't really necessary because the numbers are fairly close to the words. If I look at it again, it's like, I'm not really liking that as much as I could. So I'm going to highlight this again, and I'm going to move this over. I'm going to bump it almost up against the other column here, the column of numbers, but it's not aligning properly now, so it's flush left. So what I want to do is make it a right justified tab. And if I make this tab a right justified tab, sorry, I missed the click on that. If I click off it, you'll see that things are lining up quite nicely in there. I'm liking that a lot. And so I'm going to go in and highlight everything, and I'm going to click on this, make this one go away, and that automatically activates this flush right tab. And the neat thing about it is you'll see that this space is starting to take over everything. So if I highlight this, now I can actually go in and sort of adjust it a little bit. So if I want to pull this back, so if I want to go in and I want to pull this back a little bit, let's say I'm going to pull it back to 11 picas, and I want this to be at, let's say, 13 picas. You can see things are lining up like that. And so what we're doing is sort of, I call this a butterfly layout, because there's a central axis here, and then the wings are sort of going off that central axis. So we have a ragged right, or a ragged left-hand side on this side, and a ragged right-hand side on this side. The other thing that you'll notice is that the first number here is single digits, and these other numbers are all triple digits. So make sure you accommodate for the space. If you're going to have, we're going to be, when we're doing our cookbook, we're going to go from page 1 or 2 or 3 to page 24. So we're going to transition from a 1-digit page number to a 2-digit page number. Okay. Now the other thing that we can do is we can put in another feature to align things on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my invisibles here, or my hidden characters, and you'll see that I have my tabs set up here. What I want to do is add in another piece to work with, and I'm going to put in a /, and then I'm going to put in another tab. And what I'm going to do is just sort of copy this, or copy all of this. Okay, so Command C, and I'm going to go in here and just sort of paste it in so it's all functioning together. And you'll notice right now that everything's lining up properly, or the way we think we want it. And the interesting part as well is that if I line up my, also, so you'll see here I have my tab bar, and it's sort of not working with the text box. So I can either pull it back over here, or there's a little magnet down here, and I can just click it and it will set it up over the text frame. So you can see this is our right hand tab that we've set up for the name of the section of the recipe book. And this is lining up, this little / is lining up to the tab that we had originally used for the number. And then things are working because, remember we said that there's an invisible half-inch tab that's set up magically. So if I tab this across, it will move across a 1/2 inch as we go along. So even though these are all lining up, we're not necessarily controlling all of them as we want to. So what I'm going to do is highlight these, and I'm going to add another tab in. So I'm going to add a tab here at the 15 pica setting. So everything's lining up properly. Oh, that's sort of weird there. Okay, now I'm going to add another wrinkle to it. And let's say I change this tab, instead of being a flush left tab, I'm going to change it to an align on tab. So I'm going to click on it, and you'll see it's saying it's aligning on a period. But what I want it to do is I want it to align on the /. So I'm going to enter that into the align on box. And you'll see now I can move this over, and I can bring it, if I want to bring it closer to the number, I can do that. Or if I want to center it between the two, I can do that as well. I guess that's better centered there. Or if I want to bring it closer to the words, I can bring it like that. So I want it to be, I sort of like it a little closer to the numbers. So I'm just going to move it forward over here, maybe 13p9. And I'm going to go in here and click this, and again, copy this and paste it so I can fix up the rest of these. And you'll see that when I'm pasting this in, I haven't updated the tabs on this lower portion of the text here. Okay, this is a little boring to watch me do this, but I think we all should be bored once in a while. So I'm going to highlight these, and you'll see that it's grayed out these parts. If I can zoom in here, there we go. So you'll see these are sort of grayed out now. So what I'm going to do is click on this one and click on this one, and then I'm going to make this one go away because we don't need it. And you'll see everything should be lined up down below. So I'll make this go away, and we'll turn the invisibles off. And there, so everything is lining up now. Okay? So again, you can sort of massage this a little bit. I'm just going to go and add something into this and show you how to align things. Okay, so just hold on and I'll be right back. Okay, so what I've done is I've gone in and added a decimal thing after the page number. I know that doesn't really make sense, but I just wanted to demonstrate a little more of the align on tab. So I've added this 0.5 afterwards. I don't know what it's at the middle of the page, I guess. So anyways, what we can do is if I highlight, I'll turn my invisibles back on. Sorry here, I'll be okay. I won't be okay, but I'm going to say I'm going to be okay. So I'm going to highlight all of this. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. I'm going to bring up my tab bar, which is Command-Shift-T. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mess around with this tab, the one that's set up for the page number. And instead of it being right now a left justified tab or a center justified tab or a right justified tab, I'm going to make it an align on tab. And I'm going to change it to, instead of aligning on the /, I'm going to align it on a period or a decimal point. And you'll see it automatically moves things over after I hit enter. And now, when I move it over, let's say I move it over to the 16 pica mark, you'll see that if I close this and click off it and make the invisibles go away, that what it's doing is it's giving me a solid line on the outside, and then it's lining up to the period or the decimal point, and it's giving me a ragged left-hand column on the inside there. So again, we can use it, and let's say we have, 5.1, 5.6, 5.3. You can imagine using it for financial information. So everything would line up against that decimal point. So we used it here to line this point up, or this forward slash, but we can also use it for numerical values and other things as well. And again, we can enter any value to line up to. It doesn't matter what character it is, we can use that to line up to it. Okay, so that is how to mess around with the table of contents. And I think I had said it before that what you want to do is get an idea of in your head of what you want it to look like, and then sort of bend the software and the technology to help you make it look that way. Okay? And that's an important designation rather than just sort of taking what you get from the technology. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I've got a little formatting to do before we get going, but I've got some information here for the actual recipe itself, and I wanted to sort of get into some of the information about the tabbing the recipe and ingredients information. Okay, so actually I'll put that in another video because this is getting a little long, and then we'll go from there. Okay.